Professor Mahmoud Yakubu today faced the Senate committee over his renomination for a second term as INEC chairman and told the lawmakers that the electoral amendment bill needs to be passed by the quarter of next year. And Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka says he has forgiven a former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, over his incarceration and says it was an action during a war. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloe in Lagos. Tonight our attention is on the future of Nigerian elections. Where do we go from here? Today, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was grilled for a second term as INEC chairman. So stay with us, we'll give you all those details and what you need to know as regarding those things that will change in our coming elections. Let's tell you that Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has been speaking about his time behind the bars around the period of the Nigerian Civil War, which broke out in 1967. He was arrested by the federal government of General Yakubu Gowon and put in solitary confinement for 2 years. Professor Soyinka told Channel Television in an exclusive interview that he has forgiven the man at the helm of affairs then, General Yakubu Gowon.
About the man himself who put me in prison. Do you know, many people don't know that after Gabon left office, he made efforts to reach me because he also had discovered certain things. And he made efforts to reach me. He even asked the former ambassador to try and locate me so that any time he was passing, I was in Europe and America very much there, so we could meet and talk. And I wrote back that anytime. I said, but there's really nothing to talk about. Nothing really to, and then we met at a conference which was organized by Ali Mazrui, I think. That was the first meeting. And we hit it on very well, and he joked and said he used to be, he said, oh, don't believe anything he says, because he's saying it because I once put him in prison. I said, no, you didn't put me in prison. You were just my landlord, that's all. That was the exchange, and the ice was broken. And since then, we've been friends. We met, I've interviewed him about the Biafran War. We communicate whenever possible. He came for my birthday in Abeokuta here. And when he started to apologize, I said, listen, publicly, he made a public apology. And I said, there's no need for it. The war, for me, is over. The ones I find difficult to forgive are those who lied against me. I don't like liars. I do not lie. I don't know why. I just can't stand liars.
Well, that's the Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, speaking about his time behind bars for 2 years in 1967. Of course, the former Nigerian military leader, General Yakubu Gowon, also has been speaking with Channels Television exclusively, responding to the UK lawmaker who said that he stole half of the CBN to the UK during a session where the parliamentarians in the UK were debating the NSAS protest and the shooting incident of October 20 this year. General Gowon dismissed the accusation. He spoke exclusively to my colleague in London, Juliana Olayinka, but we will bring you the soundbite of the general shortly on the program. So stay with us, everyone. So let's focus on now the major conversation for Politics Today. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu today faced scrutiny from senators over his nomination for a second term in office as INEC chairman. President Buhari recently sent a letter to the Senate asking the National Assembly to confirm the reappointment of the INEC chairman. The former INEC chairman is appealing to the National Assembly to pass the amended Electoral Act latest by the fourth quarter of 2021 ahead of the 2023 general elections. Professor Yakubu made the appeal today while appearing before the Senate Committee on INEC for screening on his reappointment for another term in office as INEC chairman. He told the lawmakers that INEC has submitted several areas for amendment in the Electoral Act, and it is extremely important for the electoral legal framework to be finalized in due time, as INEC cannot conduct elections under uncertainty. He further said that INEC will continue to deepen the use of technology for elections and will continue to explore other ways which the electoral process can benefit from technology. President Buhari recently sent a letter to the Senate asking the National Assembly to confirm the reappointment of the INEC chairman. Well, the lawmakers have promised that they will pass that Electoral Amendment Act before the end of October. Those are some of their plans. But tonight we'll be speaking with the chairman of the Senate Committee on INEC, who joins us from Abuja studio, a former governor of Kano State, Senator Kabiru Gaya. Thank you so much, Senator Gaya, for joining us tonight on the program. And of course, we'll be speaking as well with Mr. Clement Nwankwo. He is the chair of the convener of the Civil Society Election Situation Room. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let's begin the conversation with Senator Gaya in our Abuja studio. Senator Gaya, in September, I think on the 28th of September this year, you were on the program and you told us that by the end of October, that the National Assembly would have passed the Electoral Amendment Bill, at least from your end, perhaps over to the executive arm of government. But this is the end of, we are nearing the end of November. It does look like you are behind your schedule, the schedule that you've slated for yourself. What has happened, Senator?
Well, so first of all, we are on track. The only thing was that we had a break to handle the budget, and the Senate had to close for almost a month to look at the 2021 budget, and we promised President Buhari that by the second week of December, this budget should leave the National Assembly. So that's why we had to take a break on all our committee sessions or meetings to now concentrate on the budget performance or budget completion. So we have been working hard on that, and that's why we had a break. And you remember that even today, we had to close for the sitting on the Senate in order to continue to other chairmen of committees that have not submitted their report appropriation to do so. But today we were able to hold a meeting because we have submitted our INEC budget 2 days ago, and today we had to screen the nominee for the national chairman of INEC, plus another electoral commissioner from Northwest. All the two, we had to screen them today, and it took us almost the whole evening today. We started from 2 to about 4:30 or 5:30 in the evening, but we are through with that screening. We hope the committee members will also sit by Monday again to look at the way the questions were answered by these nominees from the president. And then on Tuesday, we'll submit our report to the Senate for further legislative action.
So, I mean, of course, Senator, mathematically speaking, you are behind schedule. If you planned, because of what you told us last time,
well, that you are with you.
Yeah, you are mathematically behind schedule. You told us that by the end of October it will be passed. We are nearing the end of November. It is not passed. But then INEC, the former INEC chairman, has pleaded with your committee and the National Assembly that you should allow the bill be passed by before the end of the first quarter of 2021. Do you think that calendar or that date that it proposed is feasible?
Well, I believe it is feasible because at this stage now we have already fixed a date on 9th of December. We are going to do public hearing where we are going to invite all the stakeholders to hear from them and their opinions. And for those who send us messages through email or their opinions or views through email, we'll look at that, and on that day we'll compile all the views of all other stakeholders. We are also inviting the Office of the Attorney General, all other stakeholders. The INEC itself, they will be with us at that public hearing, and then we will discuss the areas where we are making amendments on the Electoral Act There are about 75 areas of observations raised by both the INEC and then the other some few stakeholders when we had a meeting in Lagos. And finally, I believe even the time I gave last time was because of the Senate closed for over 30 days. And I believe within the next few months or 1 month or two, I will be able to get the Electoral Act to the presidency or to the executive for them to sign. And I think we're not only making amendment, we're repealing and enacting a new law. So it will be just a fresh bill for the whole of INEC. I mean, the fresh bill of INEC, which is coming up for the early quarter of next year. And we are working on that direction. I assure you that we'll do so. And today we had the screening. The chairman, the former chairman, which I'm saying now a nominee to the president, had to go through so many questions by the highly enlightened or members of our committee who, one way or the other, have been participating in elections. I knew the problems of the election. Some of them were former governors, some of them were former house leaders, and so on and so on. We are all members of this committee. So I was so happy that how the screening went on. The chairman was able to answer a lot of the questions, almost all the questions asked. But some of the questions he replied back to us, say it is by law, and the law part of the law, the thing that affects the act of the commission or the Electoral Act were the ones make the amendment. So we told him that any other proposals that he intends to bring for our next public hearing, we are ready to see so, because after every election you see areas of observation where mistakes are made and need to be corrected. And so therefore we are going to work, and I'm assuring you that maybe, as we said, or as the chairman said, we're still going to work within the period of the first quarter of next year.
All right, quickly, before I get to Mr. Nwanko, because I know that he's joined us now, let me ask you, from the screening you had today with Professor Yakubu, do you see him fit for a second time in office?
Well, we are submitting our report on Tuesday to the Senate, but so far for how he had answered our questions, looks like he had a lot of experience within the last 5 years. And he knew the constituency he's working on, because virtually he knows almost every constituency offhand without referring to any book, and that he can remember the problems in those constituencies. So therefore, to my understanding, I think as the chairman or as member of the committee, I think he did well in his presentation. But the members of the committee are sitting on Monday also to review all the areas of his comments on the electoral, his performance during the last 5 years. And other people have also, some members have asked him questions, why do we have to postpone election on the day of the election? A lot of Nigerians were not happy. We also, politicians, were not happy for the cancellation of that election. But we asked him to, and he gave us some reasons why he had to postpone that election. And we said we have to prevent further postponement of elections in the future. And he also raised areas of observation where the funding of INEC comes only at the end of, or almost at the end of the last year of the election, which is really wrong, because INEC may not be prepared to give contract for the documents they needed for the elections, like the non-sensitive document should have been printed at 2021 or 2022, and then on 2023 we'll go for elections. So therefore we are saying, or he requested, and we agree with him on that aspect, that the budget of election should not be given by the government the last sum of money in the last year of the election. So he should apply to the federal government that funds for the election should be provided in this year, 2021, part of the money in 2021 and the balance in 2022, so that there could be no rooms for asking of postponement because some documents were not ready or some contracts were not able to bring documents. But definitely I think funding the election at the right time would be better for fresh, free, and fair elections.
All right. Mr. Clement Nwanko has since joined us, but I understand now that we're due for break in 30 seconds. But Mr. Nwanko, if I may get your quick view on Professor Yakubu. He is going to be the fourth INEC chairman in recent history to have been nominated for a second term. Your quick comment on that, Mr. Nwanko.
Thank you, Sean. First, I'm speaking as Executive Director of PLAC, Policy and Legal Advocacy Center. We did have an election in Situation Room, and Esther Uzoma was elected to replace me as convener 2 weeks ago. Speaking on the INEC position, I think that one of the key concerns regarding elections in this country is the fact that you appoint national commissioners, you appoint a chairman too close to an election, they begin to learn, and by the time elections are here, they haven't learned enough to be able to do the work that needs to be done. So I think my quick comment is that the nomination or renomination for a second term for Professor Yakubu is really very important because of the experience that he has garnered. And like the Senate Committee Chair, His Excellency Gaya has mentioned, I think it's important that several of the issues that have been bedeviling our elections are back on the agenda, and that we can have a chairman who has had the first experience of conducting a general elections now being saddled with the opportunity to take lessons and improve on subsequent general elections.
All right, let's take a breather. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, I will engage the very knowledgeable men on the program tonight, Senator Gaya and Mr. Nwanko, on Nigerian elections, where we need to go from here and fixing some of the troubling areas in our electoral law. That's next on the program, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get back to the conversation around the screening of Professor Mahmood Yakubu as INEC chairman for his second term, and also the fact that the issue of Electoral Act amendment has come out on the conversation again. Is the National Assembly behind schedule? The former INEC chairman has asked that they should try to pass that amendment act by the end or latest by the end of the first quarter of 2021. Let's get back to the conversation with Senator Kabir Gaya, our former governor of Kano State and the Senate Committee Chair on INEC, and Mr. Clement Nwanko is the Executive Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me get back to Mr. Nwanko. Let me ask you a pointed question. So you think, in your own estimation, that Professor Mahmood Yakubu should be given another chance to lead INEC?
That's a very pointed question, Sean. But certainly, yes, we did have the challenges with the general elections of 2019. If you do remember, the Situation Room was very clear that the elections had its challenges, and we did criticize the elections. We did criticize the shortcomings with the elections in 2019. There were subsequent elections, and we did see a mix in terms of the outcomes. We saw how Kogi and Bayelsa was, and we did criticize that very severely. We have seen in the most recent elections conducted in in Ondo and Edo State, where it seemed that there were significant improvements in the conduct of elections. And I made the point earlier that we have had the challenge, and I think for us it's to confront the fact that most times persons are appointed into the Electoral Commission. A chairman is appointed with under a year or sometimes at most 2 years to prepare for an elections. I think that there would be no excuse this time if elections were to go bad, because if you do have Professor Mahmood Yakubu reappointed, there would be sufficient time. He has also made the point about the Electoral Act being passed within the first quarter of next year, and I'm happy that His Excellency Senator Gaya has made the point about the National Assembly being committed to passing an Electoral Act expeditiously, and has even stated in this program the decision about a public hearing on the Electoral Act amendment, repeal and reenactment law, which is coming up for public hearing on December 9th. So I think that we do have the opportunity here that there has been some improvements in our electoral process as processes have been put in place. We have seen some innovations. We have even seen conversations around introducing some aspects of technology into elections, and INEC has even began to talk about technology in voting. So I think that all of this experience from the last 5 years of the present commission is going to help if we do have a significant number of members of the commission reappointed. It's not just Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. There are others who have been in the commission, national commissioners who perhaps need to be reappointed just so that you have all of that experience that has been gained put back in preparing. And there will be adequate time this time for preparations for the 2023 elections if these confirmations happen quickly, and if the Electoral Act amendment or Electoral Act repeal and reenactment happens as quickly as has been indicated by Chairman Senator Gaya. So I think there's quite a lot to do, and I think that there will be no excuse for 2023 if you do have an Electoral Commission well ahead in place so that we get straight back into preparing for the general elections.
All right, let me get back to Senator Gaya. And my concern here is about the work that you are doing on the Electoral Act amendment. You talked about the fact that it looks so much like it's a repeal of the existing one. But we've been talking about the Electoral Offences Commission for a long time. There is the Justice Uwais report, there is the Senator Nnamani report, and there are other reports here and there about Nigerian elections. What is the place of all these reports in the work that you are currently doing? Are you considering any of these reports at all?
Yeah, I think, as you said earlier, we had to go through all those reports. Nnamani, Justice Uwais report, and all the rest to make sure that's why we're repealing the whole act and reenacting another one, because we're going to combine all the amendments made earlier and the current ones into a formidable, strong electoral act that could be always be referred in court as the new 2021 Electoral Act. So I assure you that we're working on that direction, and I'm sure in Nigerians that the best we're doing our best to make sure that this act is passed. We're even arranging to do a joint sitting with the Senate and the House. That's why we had to wait for a while for the House to pass the Electoral Act to the second reading. And they just did that about 4 days ago when they resumed, and that both the committee of the House and the Senate on the INEC committee we will sit together to harmonize our bills, and so that we can be able to face the public hearing joint with the one single report. And after that, we will now sit down on this and have a meeting on those areas observation made during and before the public hearings. And all those facts, we are all doing this in the interest of Nigerians because of the experience we had. Even INEC itself, as just the chairman said now and said during our screening, that they brought up observations in about 80-something areas, and then yet they had additional 15 observations, whereby they are seeing this observation based on the experience they had during the elections. And I think these are ways which we can make our election more credible, more transparent, and free and fair. So also we are looking at the areas of amendment on the election, whether it is which is going to be an electronic voting system, and that will be helpful. All we needed to do more is to enlighten Nigerians, especially at the rural areas, how they could do that. But we are going to have a system which could be easily understood by our Nigerians. You remember when the issue of card reader came up during those years, there was a lot of argument, people are against it and so on. But the card reader helps us now in sorting out issues of overvoting. Because in those days, you see where without a card reader, people put 1,500 votes cards in a polling station, or in a polling booth. So therefore, all this development or all these new ideas coming in is to make the election much more credible.
All right, and, Senator, I'm afraid that we are out of time, Senator. But to be fair, I'm being told I have just about 20 seconds, so I'll let Mr. Nwanko to give us a very tough one. But will these amendments be on schedule before the Anambra election, based on what the law prescribes, that the law must be amended at a certain window before an election? In 20 seconds, can you do that for us, Mr. Nwankwo?
I think reference is always made to the ECOWAS protocol that says that a new law for an election should be in place 9 months before an election. And that's really when there are contentious issues. I don't think there are a lot of contentious issues. I think that most of the areas for amendment are really very much agreed upon by almost all of the parties. So what I expect is that you're going to have a consolidated Electoral Act 2021, and this would bring into place all of the observations and observers, INEC, the politicians, the parties are put in place, and I don't see that it will be contentious. So we're all looking forward to a new Electoral Act within the first quarter of 2021, as Chairman Gaya and indeed the National Assembly leadership has assured.
Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Nwankwo and Senator Gaya. Thank you so much for your thought and your time tonight on the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.